June 19, 1949, Charlotte, North Carolina. The checkered flag just fell on the first NASCAR race ever run, and the man who won it is about to lose everything in a dirt floor garage. Glenn Dunaway beat the field by 3 laps that day. 13,000 people watched him do it. Then, NASCAR's chief inspector, Al Chrysler, crawled under his 1947 Ford and found the rear springs spread wide. A bootlegger trick. It kept a car planted with a trunk full of whiskey. It worked even better with an empty trunk. The car had been hauling moonshine days earlier. NASCAR threw the win out. It handed the $2,000 prize to a Kansas farmer named Jim Roper, who only showed up because he read about the race in a newspaper comic strip. The owner, Hubert Westmoreland, sued Bill France in court. The judge tossed the case. That ruling handed NASCAR something more valuable than any trophy: absolute power over its own rulebook. Here's what nobody tells you: NASCAR barely ever used it. Between 1960 and 2022, NASCAR did not strip a single Cup winner for a cheated car. 62 years, not once. They caught cheaters constantly, fined them, suspended them, then let them keep the trophies. Every case you're about to hear is verified. Post-race inspections, record fines, on-the-record confessions, and almost every single one of them kept the win. 1976, Guard Racing. A young mechanic named Gary Nelson has a problem. His driver is Darrell Waltrip, and the car is too slow at legal weight. So Nelson pulls the battery off the frame rail, drills a hole into the frame, and pours in 50 pounds of lead buckshot. The car rolls across NASCAR's scales heavy and legal. Then on the pace lap, Waltrip reaches down, turns a bolt 3 times, and a plug drops out of the frame. 50 pounds of lead rolls out onto the racetrack before the green flag ever waves. For decades, this was a garage legend. Then in 2024, Gary Nelson sat down on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s podcast and confessed to all of it, on the record. His words: "If you raced in the 70s with a 100% rulebook legal race car, you didn't race for long. You'd be out of business." The scheme only unraveled when the buckshot dumped early one day and sprayed across pit road like a shotgun blast at the feet of NASCAR officials. Nobody lost a trophy over it. Remember Gary Nelson's name. He comes back at the end of this story, and where he ends up is the most unbelievable part of it. February 14th, 1982, the Daytona 500. Bobby Allison's Buick takes a light tap from Cale Yarborough a few laps in, and the entire rear bumper falls off the car. Just falls off. Clean. That bumper had been trapping air like a parachute all through practice. Without it, Allison's Buick was suddenly the fastest thing on the track. He won by 22 seconds. Rivals screamed. Yarborough's crew chief claimed the bumper was held on by hollow bolts and a thin bead of weld, built to leave. Allison's crew chief looked reporters in the eye and called the accusation absurd. His name, by the way, was Gary Nelson. Same man, same hands that drilled the buckshot hole. NASCAR inspected nothing, penalized nobody. The win stood, and it stands today. October 9th, 1983, Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Miller High Life 500. Richard Petty runs down Darrell Waltrip with 22 laps to go and wins his 198th race. The king is back. Then, NASCAR starts the routine teardown. The right side tires have left side serial numbers. Left side tires are softer, more grip, flat out illegal. Then the inspectors open the engine. The rulebook says 358 cubic inches. Petty's engine measures nearly 382, 24 cubic inches over. That is not a gray area. That is a different engine. His brother Maurice built it, and Maurice later admitted it straight out. He said he was tired of getting beat by teams that broke the rules every week, so he decided to out-cheat them all. NASCAR deliberated for 3 hours while reporters missed their deadlines. The verdict came from Director of Racing Operations Bill Gazaway. $35,000, the largest fine in NASCAR history at the time. 104 championship points. And the win? Petty kept it. The most famous illegal car in stock car history is win number 198, and it counts to this day. Here's the detail that should bother you more. Darrell Waltrip finished second in that race. His car was loaded on the hauler and gone before anyone could inspect it. February 2006, Daytona. During inspection after qualifying, NASCAR discovers the rear window on Jimmie Johnson's Chevy has been rigged with a device that raises it for an aerodynamic advantage. Crew chief Chad Knaus is thrown out of the speedway, fined $25,000, and suspended into late March. NASCAR called it blatant cheating, those were the words. So the cheat was caught before the race. The crew chief was gone. And 6 days later, that same 48 team, with an interim crew chief named Darian Grubb calling the race, wins the Daytona 500. Johnson's first. It counts. It will always count. Knaus watched his car win the biggest race in America from the outside, serving a suspension for cheating on that exact car. Nobody at NASCAR saw a problem with how that looked. September 7th, 2013, Richmond. 7 laps to go, and Ryan Newman is driving away with the race and the final playoff spot.
Then Clint Bowyer's crew chief keys his radio and asks a strange question. "Is your arm starting to hurt?" Quote, "I bet it's hot in there. Itch it." Seconds later, Bowyer spins, alone. Caution flies. Newman loses the lead in the pits and loses the race. In the chaos, Michael Waltrip Racing orders its other driver, Brian Vickers, to pit for no reason at all. The general manager tells him over the radio, "I owe you a kiss." Every move funnels their teammate, Martin Truex Jr., into the playoffs. NASCAR pulled the radio tapes. 2 days later, the hammer dropped. $300,000, the largest fine in the sport's 65-year history. The general manager suspended indefinitely. Truex thrown out of the playoffs. The sponsor walked. More than 40 people lost their jobs, and Michael Waltrip Racing eventually died from the wound. This was not a spring or a spoiler. This was a race outcome manufactured over the radio, in public, on national television, and NASCAR still officially stated it could not prove the spin was intentional. July 24, 2022, Pocono. Denny Hamlin wins. Kyle Busch runs second. Joe Gibbs Racing goes 1-2. Then inspectors peel back the vinyl wrap on the noses of both cars and find a single strip of tape underneath, 2 inches wide, 5.5 inches long, 12 thousandths of an inch thick, placed exactly where it smooths the airflow over the nose. NASCAR disqualified both cars that night. Chase Elliott, who finished third, was declared the winner. It was the first time a Cup winner had been disqualified since April 17, 1960, when Emmanuel Zervakis lost a win at Wilson Speedway over an oversized fuel tank. 62 years, Petty's 24 extra cubic inches kept a trophy. A strip of tape lost one. Gibbs did not even appeal. Hamlin joked publicly about his $300,000 piece of tape. His daughter grabbed the checkered flag before NASCAR could take it back. Now, Gary Nelson, the buckshot man, the bumper man. In 1991, NASCAR gave him a new job, Chief Technical Inspector. The man who invented the cheats was hired to catch them. Darrell Waltrip said it out loud. "It's like letting one of the inmates run the asylum." NASCAR knew exactly who Nelson was. That is precisely why they wanted him, and that tells you what the rule book was really for. NASCAR stripped the very first winner in 1949 to prove it owned the sport. Then it spent 7 decades protecting the show instead. Fines made headlines, points penalties made standings drama, but taking a trophy out of a winner's hands in front of the crowd was bad for business. Petty kept an engine 24 extra cubic inches over the limit. Hamlin lost everything over a piece of tape thinner than a business card. The rules never got stricter. The product just changed.